Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2024-2025 Manila Leadership Academy. Let's begin by meeting the Philippines HOSA student hosts for today. A freshman at Maria Clara High School, please welcome Andrea B. Navilla. Here is your next Philippines HOSA host, a freshman at Maria Clara High School, Heaven K. Pahariaga. Let's hear it for your next host, a freshman at Maria Clara High School, Matthew R. De Mesa. And finally, here is your last PH HOSA host, a freshman at Maria Clara High School, Lorenzo T. Quito. Give it up for your PH HOSA student hosts.
Welcome, Philippines HOSA. I now call the 2025 Manila Leadership Academy to order. Magandang umaga po, Philippines HOSA, and welcome to the opening session of the MLA. Sa mga nakaraang buwan, we have challenged you to grow as future health professionals. Dito sa MLA, you will have the opportunity to do just that.
Philippines HOSA, maraming salamat po sa pagsama sa amin today virtually. We encourage you to take advantage of the workshops and panels planned. By the end of the Manila Leadership Academy, sana makita namin kung paano kayo mag-grow bilang future healthcare professionals at mga leaders sa larangan ng bagong pamamaraan ng sistema ng healthcare sa buong mundo.
In honor of this fine country, narito kami upang magbigay ng magandang rendition ng National Anthem. Isang alumni mula sa California HOSA is Ella Sultan. Please remain muted while we play.
Bayang magiliw, perlas ng silanganan, alab ng puso, sa titip mo'y buhay, lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupig, di ka pasisiil, sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong bughang, may dilag ang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal, ang kislap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagdidingding, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may di magdidilim, lupa ng araw ng walhatid pagsinta, buhay ay langit sa piling mo, aming ligaya na pag may mang-aapi, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Thank you, Elasel, for that beautiful rendition of our Philippine national anthem. The Philippines is a group of tropical islands na tahanan ng libu-libong uri ng halaman at vegetation. And like the blooming sampaguitas, we continue to bloom and grow every year.
While the 2024 to 2025 National HOSA team is powered by people, Philippines HOSA introduced an additional team that best reflects the culture of our people. The 2024 to 2025 Philippines HOSA team is Kung may tinanim, may aanihin. This theme reminds us that every day we need to grow to chase our dreams. Page HOSA members so embrace their hard work, pagtatanim ng knowledge at pag-ugat para sa isang mas magandang kinabukasan para sa atin.
Today, we must recognize a special group of individuals na nagtatrabaho behind the scenes. Hindi lang para mag-organize ng best conferences, but para magbigay din ng iba't opportunities sa inyo sa buong taon. As a team, they work together para itulak ang Philippines HOSA forward. It is my honor to recognize the co-founders of the Philippine HOSA. Co-founders, when you hear your name, please turn on your camera to be recognized.
From Seton Hall University, a BSMD first year majoring in biology and diplomacy, Megan Lauren.
From Southville International School and College, a second year nursing student, Jazz Pineda.
From Union College of Union County, New Jersey, a first year majoring in psychology, Timothy Terrado.
From the University of Arizona, a second-year majoring in medicine, Katrina Marie Batak.
From the University of Southern California, a second-year majoring in biomedical engineering, Dominic De La Torre. From the University of South Carolina, a third-year majoring in nursing, Alan Dave Cabanayan.
And finally, though he is unfortunately not in attendance, the founding team's bunso from Palmade High School in California, Jason Cabison.
Maraming salamat po to these influential individuals na dahilan kung bakit naging matagumpay ang Philippines HOSA.
Now, let's take a moment to recognize our supporters na nandito today. Will all advisors, past state officers, or executive council members please turn on your camera to be recognized. Maraming salamat po sa inyong patuloy na suporta.
Before we continue, gusto namin i-introduce ang isang special surprise. The HOSA International Executive Council serves as the student leaders na nagre-represent sa PACE ng parent organization, HOSA Future Health Professionals. These students lead the charge for all the American and international charters.
We are honored to play a welcome video na na-record ng mga members ng 2024 to 2025 International Executive Council team. Please welcome your International President, Nick Ballard, President-elect, Rhea Mohan, and Post-Secondary.
Hey Philippines HOSA, the International Executive Council is ecstatic to welcome you to our HOSA family. I'm Nick Ballard, serving this year as your International President. I'm a third-year majoring in healthcare policy at Cornell University, originally from the Tar Heel State of North Carolina.
Hi everyone, my name is Rhea Mohan. I currently have the pleasure of serving as your President-elect. I am a second-year student at Virginia Commonwealth University, majoring in forensics, and I'm originally from the great state of Washington.
From the Lone Star State of Texas, I'm Jillian Anderson, a third-year public health major at Texas A&M University. I'm excited to serve you this year as the post-secondary collegiate vice president.
We couldn't be more excited to welcome chapters from Philippines HOSA International Charter. With your dedication and support, new possibilities for students interested in entering the healthcare industry will be made possible across the Philippines. So too will many new ideas, connections, and memories be created. Let us share with you some of the reasons why we love HOSA.
One of the things that I love most about HOSA is how it brings students from so many different backgrounds together who all share a passion for healthcare. Through HOSA, I've learned that diversity and collaboration fuel innovation, and that's what makes our organization so powerful.
For me, HOSA is about growth, both personally and professionally. The leadership opportunities, skill development, and sense of community have prepared me for challenges in healthcare and beyond. It's a family where we inspire and empower each other to make a difference. As you embark on this new year ahead, remember that every effort you invest today will shape not only your future, but also the future of healthcare.
Your dedication reflects our international theme of Powered by People, because it is through passionate and innovative individuals like yourselves that we grow stronger together. We cannot wait to see all that you accomplish as you grow and flourish throughout this year.
Hindi kami makupag antay sa inyong marabating. Maraming salamat for joining our HOSA Kapamilya Philippines.
I'm sure na bawat chapter ninyo ay nakakita ng growth nitong mga nakaraang buwan as they've come to realize the leadership opportunities na ino-offer ng HOSA. This year, we are excited to welcome 6 new chapters to the Philippine HOSA Kapamilya. Let's recognize these chapters.
Global Leaders International School, Tala High School, Camarine High School, Maria Clara High School, St. Francis of Assisi College, and Caloocan City High School. You have broadened opportunities for your classmates and contributed to peer-to-peer networking and recognition sa HOSA. We are so excited to see what you accomplished. And to other schools here today, we hope you can join our family.
And now for some final announcements. Be sure to take full advantage of the upcoming medical professional Q&A and workshops. How to HOSA and Leadership 101. Huwag kalimutan na i-turn on ang inyong cameras, mag-take ng note, ask questions.
Students, please stay the whole academy to receive a certificate of completion.
PH HOSA, have fun and enjoy the amazing leadership opportunities na in store para sa inyo. We can't wait to see you at the closing session. Now, I'll be passing it over to Kuya Tim and Ate Megan for the medical professional Q&A.
Hello, Philippines HOSA. Thank you so much for coming to the Medical Professional Q&A and the Manila Leadership Conference. My name is Megan Lauren.
And I'm Tim Torado, and today we are excited to be doing the Medical Professionals Q&A. Thank you so much for joining us today for this exciting Q&A session with the two incredibly accomplished healthcare professionals. We are thrilled to have Mr. Jun Cuenca, a dedicated educator and healthcare professional with over 30 years of experience. Mr. Cuenca is not only a master's prepared registered nurse, but also a biotechnology instructor at Oxford Academy, where he has pioneered the no-crop biotechnology pathway. His leadership as a HOSA advisor has empowered countless students to reach new heights in healthcare. Throughout his career, Mr. Cuenca has earned numerous accolades, including being named No Crop Teacher of the Year for 2024 and being inducted into the Cal HOSA Hall of Fame in 2023. We are also honored to welcome Dr. Benedict Garma, a passionate psychiatrist who recently completed a psychiatry residency at TRMC/Robert Wood Johnson Medical Center. Dr. Garma's leadership as both associate and chief resident has helped shape his approach to mental health care. Currently, he is completing a master's in public health, further blending his expertise in psychiatry with public health initiatives to enhance overall well-being. Tonight, we'll dive into their professional journeys, experiences, and insights in the medical field. They've each played vital roles in shaping the future of healthcare, and we are eager to hear more about their work, challenges, and advice for aspiring healthcare professionals. Let's dive right in and start the conversation.
So to get this conversation started, while we have them tell a little bit more about their healthcare journeys, we invite you all to type in the chat any questions that you guys have. Please do not be afraid to ask the question. So let's get started with Mr. Cuenca. Could you please tell us a little bit more about how you became a nurse and your story?
Sure. Well, I can speak Tagalog as well. I grew up in the Philippines and I studied in the Philippines. I graduated my Bachelor's of Science in Nursing from West Visayas State University in Iloilo City and worked my way to migrate in the U.S. So that's my story for nursing. And what made me choose nursing is because I wanted to be a doctor, but I don't think I have the endurance to sustain it. So I chose nursing, and I thought I didn't really realize how I actually loved the profession until I got into nursing program. And migrated to the US after quite some time in the Philippines. And in the US, I was given the opportunity to work in the education, in nursing education, actually, first. So I taught nursing education. I taught nursing students. And then eventually I was given this opportunity to teach or to start the biotechnology pathway at Oxford Academy, and where Megan was actually my student. So that's my story.
Now we're going to pass the mic over to Dr. Garma. Could you tell us a little bit more about how you became a psychiatrist?
Yeah, sure. I guess I'll start. I don't speak Tagalog. I was born in LA. my parents are both first generation immigrants. But I guess the passion started because my mom's a psychiatrist. And so from an early age, I think I just saw and looked up to her. And I think, and my dad's also graduated doctor as well from the Philippines, both MCU. So the influence started when I was young. Tried to do everything in terms of education, 4-year university, um, you know, and 4-year medical school. I went to St. George's University in the Caribbean for medical school. And in that time, I also kind of grew a passion for the community, and it led me to also do MPH. So concurrently with doing, medical school plus residency, I also have that MPH, which kind of like blends in. So I guess you could say it all started with my mom, but the passion grew with every next step, with every school, with every interaction with, events such as this or with mentors. So yeah, how I got here. I'm also really proud and honored to be included here. So thank you.
So we have one question in the chat. Does MPH stand for Masters in Public Health?
Yes, it does. It's typically a 2-year course. You can actually complete it longer than 2 years. I took kind of a pretty long route, but it's fairly standard in terms of the requirements of any master's degree, where you would need like a thesis and a project and an internship. But yes, it's master's in public health.
We also received another question. This one is for Mr. Cuenca. Could you share us the most rewarding moment of your career as a HOSA advisor? This person wants to know a little bit more about the HOSA side of your medical journey.
So that question is like finding a needle in a haystack. It's a very difficult question because I think I'm more excited actually as a HOSA advisor than as a teacher in biotechnology, although they go together hand in hand. I think there's so many wonderful, beautiful memories, but I cannot say one. I will mention 3 and indulge me. One is I had a student before who lost his father at when he was a sophomore student, and he became very quiet in class, and I just took an initiative that I said to myself, I cannot lose this student. I have to support this student. So that student ended up winning gold medals back to back to back, including an international gold medal in medical innovation, because that's his calling. He wrote a very heartwarming thank you letter to me when he graduated, and right after graduation, he worked in his first job was in Google. He studied in Berkeley, and I was just so shocked that he said, "My first salary, I will donate it to Oxford Academy HOSA." And it's just a phenomenal experience, how you touch the life of a young person, and then that person knows how to look back. A second experience that I'm so happy to share is when one of my students was running for International Executive Council. Actually, the second student I had who ran for International Executive Council. At that time, I was by myself. I could not bring my team to Nashville because of cost and whatnot. So, and I had the pleasure of sharing an Uber from the convention center, from our hotel to the airport, with my former International Executive Council officer, Amanda Gao, and my newly elected International Executive Council officer, Vivian On. And just reflecting back on it, because I was kind of like teary-eyed because I started the chapter with virtually an unknown chapter, and it was my dream to push to really, I should say, put um, put our chapter into the map, because I believe in my students. I believe in my students more than they believe in themselves, and I think the last is happening now. Having talked to Megan, I think last year or 2 years ago, that about thinking about having a Philippines HOSA chapter, and now it's starting. So to see that is phenomenal, and I think those are the experiences that I have that just truly makes me a happy advisor.
Thank you so much for that answer. That was super inspiring just to like have those like personal stories and anecdotes. It really shows that like HOSA is like so much more than the organization, but the people, the connections, and also the emotions as well. We have a question for Dr. Garma in the chat by Kat, and it says, you mentioned how you were raised by first generation family. How would you motivate first generational future healthcare professionals who also want an MD?
Oh, that's a really great question. I kind of struggled with that even up until now. My career, my very early career, by the way, it's not even the experience is all educational. But um, with that, I think, to be honest, like my parents coming to the US was much harder for them to really get like into the practice, to practice medicine and to start a life. I think it's easy to get caught up in like the spoils of being raised by two doctors. Some might say I was, raised in kind of a, maybe a higher economic status, one might say, and comes with it a lot of, you know, eases and, like you don't have to worry for so much. And so I think I got lost in the motivation and the drive to really pursue medicine, because it's not a short time period. It's 4 years university, 4 years medical school, 4 years residency, and by the time you know it, everybody else in your friends has a life, and you're still in school. So for someone who is, first generational in future healthcare, I would say don't lose sight of your motivation. Know that the journey is hard, but keep going. That's really your dream. You can definitely achieve it. Don't get lost in anything else. Pick that goal and focus. You'll make it.
So the next question, as you can see, is from Alan for Mr. Cuenca. He's interested in pursuing an MSN in nursing education. How would you describe your transition from bedside nursing to working in education?
That's a good question. When I moved here in the US, so in the Philippines, we only have the bachelor's degree in nursing. We don't have multi-level nursing. Here in the US, we have a practical nursing or vocational nursing. And then we have an associate's degree nursing, and we also have the bachelor's degree nursing. So I came here as a bachelor's degree nurse. And, probably it's my perfectionism that I was like, why are the students not thinking critically the way I was critically taught, right? I was taught critical thinking by my excellent teachers. So I got frustrated with seeing, because they have the potential. They have the potential. It's not that they don't know. It's just that they have the potential. But I feel that the education may have not been in that level. So I was basically raised to solve problems rather than complain about a problem. So I was given that opportunity to teach, and I just grabbed it and started teaching. And then eventually my hours, they needed me. And by the way, there is a need for nurses. If there is a need for nurses, there's even a greater need for nurse educators. So I ended up being pulled away from from the bedside and just stay on nursing education. At one point in my career, I actually tried to kind of like, I wanted to go back to clinical, to bedside again, but they keep calling me, the schools would keep calling me and say, hey, we want you, we want more hours and whatnot. And it's really also transformational for me to see that, because as a nurse, I can do bedside, but I'm only doing it by myself. But if I'm a teacher, I'm actually making more than one nurse, if you know what I'm talking about. So being an educator is just a gift to kind of like spread that knowledge and empower more people than just you. So that's the reason why I stick to it. And when I was given this opportunity actually at Oxford, I was like, okay, you branch out. You're not just training nurses now, you're training future health professionals. So that's the reason why I'm here. I'm still here. Yeah. So go ahead, pursue your dreams. I took my master's actually, my master's of nursing program through Walden University, which is an online program. It's a lot kind of like easier while because you're already working and you don't want to go to school. And once you start working, you can't live sometimes with no money, so you have to just and there are online programs, so you can definitely earn more or earn a degree while working.
Thank you so much for your insight, Mr. Cuenca. I don't think many of us in this call right now didn't really know about that process. Now we're going to switch over to Dr. Garma. We have a question from Heaven, who's also interested in pursuing medical education in the future. So do you have any tips? Actually, I think this can apply to both of you. Do you have any tips of what to do and what not to do when you're in the medical field?
Mr.
Quick
Cuenca, you want me to
do's and
start or?
don'ts.
Fantastic. Yeah, I honestly, I think that other than study, read, those are kind of the basics, right? What I really find to be the most important though is because you can always read, you can always gain knowledge, right? It's professionalism and knowing that you're in a team. Healthcare is not a one person thing. It's not just a doctor. It's not just a nurse. It's not just even the person you see at the front desk when you enter an emergency room or a clinic, right? I think the best thing to do when you're in the medical field is act like you're part of a team. It's to understand that every professional has their input. They have their degree in something for a reason. They know they have an expertise, and so you have to vibe off each other and you have to listen. It's for the betterment of a patient. So I think if you treat people with respect, if you're professional, I think you'll get a lot farther, and you'll open a lot more doors with that. That's my main big thing for that.
And to piggyback to that, although people may have thought that let's face it, healthcare industry is one of the most stable industries in the US, right? There's always a job for everyone. And people think that, we are, adequately paid compared to some other industries, which is probably true. But I just, and this is going to piggyback with what Dr. Garma has said, that do not lose focus on the reason why you become a health professional. That's because you wanted to take care of a patient, and that patient is a person, and that person has a life, and that humanity is the most important thing. Now, if you are blinded by money and by opportunities, then you become unethical, then you make these decisions that can eventually affect your profession. So never lose sight of the reason why you are in healthcare.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your answer. And this question applies to both of you, and it's from Matthew. How do you maintain a work-life balance while managing the demands of being a medical professional?
at least for me, in residency, I actually had two kids within residency. One is 4 years old now, so at the start of residency, and one is one now, and she's at the end of my residency. Work-life balance is huge. It's, everything that we try to have, and sometimes it leaks, right? Sometimes you're coming home and you're putting the kids to bed or bath time, and they need something, but then you get a call from the office, yes, or the hospital saying, "Hey, doc, like, why'd you put in this order for this medication?" I don't remember. That was like 4 hours ago. Um, but I think it's keeping focus on the task at hand. When you're focused with your family, try to stay in the present moment is what I always try to do. If I got a call, I would excuse myself. I'd take myself out for a couple of minutes and, try to tackle whatever that business at the time is. It's really going to meld. Like there's always going to be ebbs and flows, but for me, mindfulness and keeping within the moment is probably the best way that I handled work-life balance, and not taking on too much. I learned that the hard way. Being associate and chief resident, you need to not bite off more than you can chew. That way you don't get too overwhelmed.
I'm a little lucky that I'm in education, which means nobody's going to die if I don't make a decision right away. Dr. Garma is probably more into that, critical decision making. I don't really need to make critical decision making at the moment. But in general, any job can actually burn you out. And I have had experiences where I was burned out too because I gave my best. And sometimes giving your best because you just want everything. You as you grow older, you kind of like learn to kind of like step back a little bit and kind of like realize that you cannot control everything. And then I think another very important thing to do is just develop a hobby that is completely outside of the realm of your work, so that you'll have that breaker. If you work two jobs, because I've seen a lot of nurses who work two jobs, right? I always say that if you work two jobs, one of those two jobs at least should be a job you enjoy the most, so that you're not coming to work dragging your feet, but you're coming to work inspired, happy of what you're doing. So it doesn't seem like it's work. So I think that's what my advice would be.
I think that's good advice for anyone as they're going through their healthcare journey, to make sure that you have a life outside of everything that you're studying. Make sure you don't burn out. Our next question that we have is for both of you as well. And this is going into both of your lives as teachers. How do you teach students to balance empathy and professionalism in emotionally challenging situations?
I think in psychiatry, at least in seeing patients, and my students are kind of able to sit in and see patients with us, or at least have had experience in like talking with patients. And given that it is psychiatry, it is typically emotionally charged, whether or not it's depression or something as fluid as like an emergency situation in the ER. But for me, listening, right? You just by listening, you're able to empathize with the patient. You're able to really listen to details that they're giving you, and so that way you can learn to kind of interject and really support them, right? Visual cues and listening, I think, are my two main balances that I would tell someone if it's not even just in patient situations. It could be in the professional setting too, right? But if we don't like listen to one another, if we don't let everyone speak in turn, then we don't get the full story. So I try to focus on that with them first and see if they can listen, and then move on from there.
Megan, can you possibly repeat the question, because I felt like I was a little lost with the question.
Of course. So when it comes to teaching students, like you've taught me before, how do you teach balancing empathy and professionalism when we're in a challenging situation? So this could be kind of during SLC when moment is really tense and competition.
I got it. I don't think empathy and professionalism are two opposite things to begin with. Empathy is understanding others, and professionalism is, manifesting the behavior that really reflects on your profession, right? So I don't think, because empathy is part of professionalism. I think I think to me, what you need to do as an educator is to model the behavior. And, not all educators are perfect. So, for example, when you say timeliness or punctuality, you have to model punctuality too, so that you cannot demand punctuality on others if you yourself is late. And I've seen that in some teachers. They would, for example, say, be in your HOSA blues, and then wearing shorts. I mean, like, how can you put that together, right? It's always important to model the behavior, and it always is important, I think, for teachers and for students also to have the time to reflect, because I make mistakes as a teacher. Sometimes I'm a little bit too pushy for my students, and Megan can tell that, right? Sometimes I expect a lot. And sometimes, though, I have this thing in me that if you always, part of the talent or the skill that you will develop as a healthcare professional is that clinical eye. And that clinical eye is basically, you kind of like read the person without even that person telling you their experiences. And sometimes my clinical eye would tell me that I have done too much. And so I would step back, and I have to teach myself how to apologize, if I need to. So I think teaching students, that ability that we too are humans, we're not perfect, that we too have limitations, and acknowledging that, it's just part of the process of having professionalism and empathy, at the same time, and accepting that, it's not always that you will get. I am pushy. Usually for me, I'm pushy because I know you have a potential. But if you don't get what you want, I don't like keep pushing on it or blaming. I don't blame people, because to me that's past is past. If the person learned the lesson, move on. So.
Okay, thank you so much for both of those answers. That was truly enlightening because, like, it's true that professionalism and empathy are not mutually exclusive because they really work in tandem to foster trust between the people that you work with and the people that you're serving. And that is super important, especially in healthcare. So we have another question for both of you guys as well. What do you think is the best pre-med program where we can still have a job or career after finishing pre-med, but is also advantageous for medical school?
Does nursing count? Like, yeah, I
Nursing
would have,
1000% counts.
if I could go back, 100% I would have gotten my nursing degree before I had gotten my MD degree. 100%. There is so I'll tell you guys a secret. When I was in high school, I thought that being a doctor was like I would be doing everything, right? I thought I would be with the patient all the time, seeing them and doing all the blood work and whatever. I thought I would be hands-on. I'm the least hands-on person in the hospital, unfortunately. Something I wish I had known before going into it. Yeah, that's definitely one of, I think I saw that there in the chat. But there is so much benefit to a nursing degree. I think I've seen it in my family. I've seen it in people in students in medical school who have nursing degrees have such an upper hand. So if you decide to go that route, you are so prepared. if you don't decide to go that route, you have a stable job that needs people, like Mr. Guanca mentioned earlier. That would be my advice. Nursing degree.
Um, well, I guess it depends on what is really your goal. There are some people who wants to finish early, so that can be a goal. And if you're able to do that, then there's a path for that. But if the question, going back to your question, to make sure that once you change your mind and decision midway, because the length of program of the medical program is just so long, right? So nursing is a good program. I think nursing is a good program because of the need. There's always like 100,000 need for nurses. And there's also many different fields of nursing you can go to. But there's also clinical lab scientists, or your medical technologists, for example. There's also a need for that. Physical therapist, there's also a need for that. And then the thing is, you can be, and Dr. Gama can attest to this, you can be a doctor even with an art degree or a business degree or an economics degree. The only thing is, as long as you satisfy your basic science courses, so it will be a little longer because you are not within the science field, but definitely pursue on that. But I would agree that pursue on courses that would give you job security should you decide that medicine is not for you. That's the reason why I changed. I wanted to be a doctor all my life, and then I realized that, number one, I didn't come from a rich family. I don't think my family can sustain that. Number two, I don't think I will really have that. I can study that, although I don't know why I became a teacher because it's studying too, right? But I just didn't believe that I would have that. And the thought of as Dr. Gama has mentioned, your friends are already working and have a life and a family while you're still in school. It can sometimes dampen your spirits. So if you're meant for it, one of the doctor speakers that I have listened to, and actually Dr. Gamar mentioned it, is also try to live in the moment, right? You cannot just like start counting what you want, what house you want to buy and whatnot. Just start one step at a time, enjoy the moment, live it, and so on and so forth. But if there are courses, find those courses like paramedics and stuff like that, because they give you real world experience already, and it gives you an advantage because now you know how to deal with people. Because there are some people straight to academics that when they graduate, they realize that I'm not really a people person. I'm not really meant to deal with people. And that's heartbreaking because they spent all their money and all their time to pursue this profession, and at the end of it, they could not work on that type of environment. So I think any healthcare profession is good, and look at it on a multi-step level. Okay, the more you interact with people, the more it tests your skills on basically meeting people and talking to people.
I think that's really good advice to keep in mind. A lot of us think that the straight path is a doctor, but sometimes we might need to go the long way around to become the best future healthcare professional we can be. Now, unfortunately, we have time for only one more question, and that one is going to be from Jaya. So this ends with both of you. What are things that you need to prepare when entering this type of field? I know you talked about the more academic processes, but mentally, what do you think it takes?
I think for me, and this kind of touches on the previous question, when you take it step by step and you find what that field that you want to get into, or when you find, if it's nursing, if it's MD, if it's PA, if it's whatever it may be, research on it. understand what it's going to take, understand the years that it may take, or months, or however long it might take. Doing your due diligence beforehand and not just saying, I'm going to be a doctor because I want to be a doctor. And then you're there 12 years later and you took a weird way and then you're like, oh, how did I get here? Um, you want, you want to be prepared by knowing like where you want to go. Like, what are your short-term goals, what short-term goals, and what are your long-term goals? And that comes with, understanding all the steps that it's going to take. So once you figure out what that end goal is, then really do your research.
And I'm also going to add that have a backup plan. Have a backup plan. And know that sometimes life doesn't turn the way you wanted it to be. I remember one time I had this activity in class where I had the students write a futuristic resume. So count the number of years they want. So a lot of them, they wrote they wanted to be a doctor in year 20 whatever. So it's a futuristic resume. And so they were starting to count the years. So there was this one student of mine who was like, oh my God, I'll be 20 plus years when I graduate medicine, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, you're not counting that you can fall in love and you can have a baby. She looked at me like, and I said, that's a reality. You can have a baby and it can affect your education process because as a woman, you'll carry the baby, you'll nurture the baby, and so on and so forth. So you have to, it was a resume project, but it was an eye opener for them because it makes them realize that life doesn't sometimes unfold the way we want it. So you just have to be ready that sometimes you don't get what you want. And it's okay. It's okay to change your plan. Of course, you have to have a plan B, plan C. But as long as, personally, as if you're in healthcare, as long as it's within the healthcare field, there's so much job security in healthcare. So that's the reason why I push for this, because I think whatever you will become, there is a future if you just like put your heart and soul to it and also be ready for some challenges that may come.
Thank you so much for your answers. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have left, and we see that there are so many questions in the chat, and we really appreciate your enthusiasm, but we do have more to move on to. And like what Mr. Cuenca said, there's so many possibilities in healthcare, so many different routes you can take, but we are so thankful to have you two to provide direction for us, not only us hosts, but all these students, but also for us who are already in college. Like, it means so much to us that you spent the time here tonight for us and to give us your advice, and it really means so much.
Can I say something? If you can kind of like send us the chat and then we can respond to it, I can answer some of it.
Yes, of course. I'll send it as a document for the both of you.
Yeah. So
thank you.
Yeah. As we wrap up tonight's Q&A session, let's take a moment to reflect on the incredible insights shared by our esteemed guests. To Mr. Jun Cuenca, thank you for sharing your journey of balancing nursing and teaching, for inspiring us with your dedication to healthcare education, and for emphasizing the importance of leadership and innovation in shaping the next generation of healthcare professionals. To Dr. Benedict Garma, we deeply appreciate your perspective on mental health, your passion for psychiatry, and your inspiring efforts to integrate public health into your work. Your journey reminds us of the critical role of resilience and vision in addressing future challenges in mental health care. Tonight, we were reminded of the power of passion, perseverance, and purpose in pursuing a career in healthcare. Both of you have left us with valuable lessons and inspiration to carry forward in our own journeys. To everyone who joined us, thank you for being part of the Medical Professionals Q&A. We hope you leave here inspired and motivated to make a meaningful impact in the healthcare field. Now we will be moving on to our next workshop. Thank you once
So-
again.
Thank you so much for coming here, and we're so glad you took time out of your evening to be here with us today.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Good
Thank
night.
you. Good night. So, now that the professionals have left, it's time for us to take a little step back and learn more about how to run a HOSA chapter and what does it take to run one. So, welcome to the How to HOSA workshop led by, again, me, Megan.
And me, Alan, or Alan Dave, whichever you prefer.
And me, Katrina Batak.
So, before we get started, as a reminder, now that they've left and there's no more scary adults, feel free to turn your cameras on.
All right. So we're going to kick things off with a little activity. So this is called What Shark Are You? You know, leadership looks like a bunch of different things, and everyone has their own style of leadership. And so we chose to represent that with these different sharks. So there's the great white, which is more kind of like upfront or outspoken. They're very bold and confident in their leadership, really to be the one to start talking and take charge. And then there's the hammerhead, which is more of the thinking, strategizing, kind of taking a step back. And then the nurse, which is my personal favorite and what I feel like I am, the more compassionate, collaborative, overall team player of the group. So real quick in the chat, if everyone could just let us know which shark you feel like fits you the best. Again, as a nursing major, I feel like I fit the nurse the best. Well, not just as a nursing student, but just personally. I kind of wait to see how everyone else feels about something, and take that into consideration of what I'm going to add to the group.
Okay, so we see a lot of great whites. I think I'm a hybrid. If it's possible to be a shark hybrid, I think I'm a great white mixed with a hammerhead.
Oh my
If that's possible.
Yeah, I'm a mix of hammerhead and nurse.
So I'm a great head. I think I'm a great head or a hammerwood.
Hammer nurse. Not
I don't
hammer.
know. I kind of flip-flop with like what if I had a second, like what would it be? It just depends on the group. Because like if I see that like there's already someone else who wants to start doing things, then I'll be more of the hammerhead and like thinking. But if no one in the chat is saying something, then I'll be the one to try and like start things off. So then my great white side kind of takes over and is like, okay, we need to get stuff done.
I think we do need to embrace like our inner great white. But I do see a lot of hammerheads in the chat though. I love my hammerheads.
Hammerhead love.
We should be all of them.
Real.
Yeah, definitely like these different leadership styles can all like come together in their own different ways. And we can all use these different leadership styles together to accomplish work, whether it's like a group project, for a class assignment, or even within HOSA as an organizational like initiative or project. And we'll definitely talk a little bit more about that later on with being able to bring all of these different styles and like different sharks together.
And as Alan literally just said, despite the noticeable differences between each of these sharks and leaders, all of them are very much compatible and in line with HOSA's ambitions. HOSA's mission is to empower future health professionals through education, collaboration, and leadership. We prepare students for careers in healthcare by providing opportunities for hands-on experience, professional development, and leadership training.
So, regardless if you're a nurse, a hammerhead, or a great white, or even a hybrid of all of the above, HOSA needs all types of leaders. We need leaders like you to advocate for your communities and for all of my future health professionals, which every single one of you are. You need to be able to advocate for your future patients. But before we skip all the way into the future, the question becomes, how do you become that leader? And that's what this workshop is all about.
Yeah, so we are going to have a little like team building activity for you all to do to bring out those different types of sharks and see how you can use your leadership styles to accomplish a common goal, which you will have to do many times within your chapter. So we're going to start off by going into different breakout rooms. Each of the founding team members will be in one of the groups to help you guys out. And basically, we're going to, well, you as the Sharks will find a problem within healthcare in the Philippines that you feel is important to discuss and find a solution of what you can do within your schools to tackle that problem. And so we'll have a Google slide presentation that we will share once we get into the breakout rooms, and you will have to work as a team to basically show us founding members your solutions and to present your findings to us. So if anyone's familiar with the show Shark Tank or Dragon's Den or anything like that, it's kind of the same sort of principle.
Okay, so without further ado, we're going to be creating the different breakout rooms. For the co-hosts, if you are in the same room as another co-host, please change rooms. Thank you so much. And we'll see you all in 10 minutes. So, does someone in your group want to share this idea?
I can talk a little bit about it. Our group, it was me, Kat, and Jaya, and we identified the problem as, or a problem within healthcare in the Philippines is that some hospitals don't always have a lot of safe or like, suitable equipment to use for different procedures. And might partially just come from maybe not like cleaning materials in between procedures, so like using them on different patients, and also just having funding to get new equipment and more better equipment, like safely packaged things. So our call to action to be able to get that funding and that new equipment is to try and raise awareness about this issue, not just within the school, but hopefully within the community, so that everyone locally is able to understand how much of a problem this is and how poor equipment can affect patient outcomes. Because, bad or like unclean instruments could lead to infection and stuff like that. And we'd also like to kind of review with everyone different sterile and clean technique and what we can do to like clean off the equipment and sterilize it between patients. So what we would like to ask for, the resources for this initiative is possibly some autoclaves to sterilize different medical instruments, and also just creating a new education program on the importance of having clean instruments to use.
I love the idea, guys. So I see 6 keeps on editing if slide 6 wants to talk about their initiative a little bit.
Ooh, pictures.
I see
Yes.
pictures.
Yeah, because one of the instructions was to use visuals. And just as a rule follower, we thought that was super important.
Okay, so for we come up with popular right now. And of course, with the HMPV, it was said that it was increasing in China, but for some things that's sometimes actually not true. So some resources said that it was actually not true, that it's like kind of like a COVID um widespread virus, but in reality, it's just something that was very seasonal. So a solution we came up for this somewhat fake spreading of information is that just like listed here, we could spread accurate info with infographics, clear up misinformation with medical experts, and um I just thought that the idea like holding some seminars or workshops that could not only help with clearing up with the misinformation, but could also help how to avoid how to avoid scenarios, because even though that HMPV is not actually so of a widespread, it's still a seasonal illness that could be heavily impacted when during spring or winter, according to some sources. So yeah, we could hold some seminar and workshops that could help people be educated on those factors. And just like this, we could ask help from resources like DOH statements, fact-checking articles, and HMP overview. So yeah, that's basically our slide. But thank you.
Yes.
Whenever you're ready, Maria.
Good afternoon po, everyone. So now we'll talk about healthcare problems in Philippines. My group came with the topic of poverty and education. So now I will start to present the poverty first. So poverty refers to the state of lacking sufficient financial resources and other essentials to meet basic human needs, such as food, clothing, shelter, healthcare, and education. It's a condition that can lead to struggles. It's not simply a lack of money, but a multifaceted condition encompassing of lack of access to essential resources and opportunities. So many people are wondering how we can prevent it. We can prevent it by educational education and skills development, by investing in quality education and skills training programs with the knowledge and abilities needed to secure and improve their economic prospects. Thank you po.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. Oh my gosh.
We're so proud of you.
you.
Ooh, wow.
Okay. Wow, wow, wow.
you.
Thank you, everyone. So now
Lot
I
of
think
information.
we can go back to our presentation.
Yes. My
And
computer will. Thank you. Okay.
we're heading back. And now we're going to pass over the mic for the second workshop for Dom, Jazz, and still Tim. But we promise this one will be pretty fast.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for sharing again all of your great ideas. I found it very, very insightful. My name is Dominic, and I'll be leading the first half of our Leadership 101 workshop. I used to be a California HOSA state officer, so leadership is a very, very important thing to me. And just a little overview on this workshop in general is going to be very lecture-based in the beginning, and then we're going to have a group discussion afterwards about leadership. We're going to learn about parliamentary procedure. If you don't know what that means yet, you'll be in store. And then meeting minutes and agenda, and just how to run efficient meetings at your school chapter and other clubs. So a little introduction on parliamentary procedure. So it's also coined as Robert's Rules and was made by someone named Robert. And it's very much on the basis of running very efficient meetings and organized meetings. So the cornerstone of parliamentary procedure is making these motions, and these are kind of, I guess, ideas that you put out to the floor, and these are voted on, debated on, and basically discussed throughout the whole meeting. There are some motions that are pre-made, and those rank higher in the hierarchy of motions, But today we're going to talk about the first one, the main motion. So main motions, these are a proposal from any member, whether it be in an executive board or a general board, and they're bringing a new subject or idea before the meeting to consider and act upon. And this requires a second. If you don't know what that means, you'll see in a second. Get it? It's the lowest ranking motion out of all of them. We'll show you a hierarchy of all the different motions. So we're going to look into a little example of parliamentary procedure in action. So say you're in a general meeting or an executive board meeting with all your club officers or everyone in your club, and you guys are having this little general session to discuss things that you want to see before the end of the year. So one person very respectfully gets recognition from whoever's presiding over the meeting, and they have this idea of wanting to have an end of the year party. So first they stand up and say, I move to have an end of the year party. And this is the first step in making your main motion. And someone after that who agrees with it will say second. So by then you'll have two people who want to see this in action. And after that, the chair, whoever's presiding over the meeting, your president, will say, it has been moved and seconded that we have an end of the year party, as seen in this picture here. So after that has been said, everyone in that meeting can start debating and voting on it. And this will be the topic of discussion for however long the discussion goes for. And again, for main motions, you need to put it forward, have a second, and then have the chair say this in order for it to be discussed. And then after discussion and debate has been going for some time, you can finally vote on it, whether to have an end of the year party or not. So here's a little ranking of all the other motions as well. Like I said, there's also predetermined motions that were made by the people who made parliamentary procedure in the first place. So as you can see, the main motion is seen at the bottom of this, but then all the way in the top, you see these adjourns. Adjourns means to end the meeting indefinitely or whenever you want to end it or meet again. So yeah, we can see, feel free to ask anything about motions in general. When I was learning it, it was very, very confusing for me. But if you search online, like summaries about parliamentary procedure, and we can definitely share you after this Leadership Academy about parliamentary procedure. It can be very confusing, but it is a very, very efficient way to run and organize your meetings. So another part of having efficient and organized meetings is having agendas and minutes. So an agenda, this is usually sent before the meeting takes place, and it's a list of what you are going to be discussing throughout the meeting. And on the other hand, there's minutes, which is a live transcript that is recorded, usually by someone appointed as the secretary, and this keeps a log of what is going to be discussed. So on the next slide, we have some examples of agendas and minutes, and this was from my time as serving on the state officer board with California. But again, organization is very, very key, and not being organized in a meeting with having no agenda or no minutes will definitely have meetings that are very long and not organized in general. So anyways, yes, again, these are examples. So as we see here, there's topics, and then who's going to be presenting these topics and some time allocated. Obviously, you can estimate. You don't really know how long something will be discussed, but doing this will definitely keep you on track throughout the meeting, and people can point out if you're going over or under the time and want to discuss more or discuss less about a certain topic. And minutes here, this gives you a track of what was discussed during the meeting. And I want to point out the action item section at the end of the minutes, which help to give you a to-do list of what to do next before the upcoming meeting. And now we're going to head into types of leadership, I believe. And I'm going to pass the torch on to Jazz and Tim.
Okay, thank you, Dom. So there are different types of leaderships. I think I think governments are a great example of different types of leaderships. So starting off, we have laissez-faire leadership. You might hear that in American history classes. Laissez-faire basically means hands off. So a laissez-faire leader only makes decisions when they're forced to, and they try to aim for the least amount of rules and regulations. The opposite of that is autocratic leadership, aka a dictator. This person maintains total control and they themselves make all the rules. They rarely, if ever, ask for the opinions of others. And because of this type of leadership, individuals follow out of fear, punishment, or extreme loyalty. Next slide.
So next up are these three types of leadership. One is democratic leadership, which values everyone's input and encourages group decision making. Service leadership, which puts others' needs before their own. And transformative leadership, transforms team and motivates them to achieve more. So, as we can see from these three types of leadership, I think that all three types of these leadership should be incorporated into things that we do, whether it be in healthcare or just in school. The two previous ones that Jazz talked about, autocratic and laissez-faire, should be things that we should stay away from because those are not effective types of leadership. But being democratic, being committed to service, and transforming your team is super, super important.
Awesome. Thank you guys for touching on those types of leadership. And again, I really do agree that the ones that were discussed first are some things you should stay away from, especially when leading a team or being in a leadership team. And the ones on part two are definitely things to keep in mind when you are serving on a leadership board. So we're going to talk a little bit about servant leadership, and this is the cornerstone idea of HOSA. It primarily teaches students on this idea, which is service over self, basically. So serving everyone within your chapter or within your chartered organization, the Philippines, over yourself. So a thing that I like to keep in mind when thinking about servant leadership is that a good leader leads, but a great leader serves. And we're going to have a little discussion on, what this means to us. And right now in the chat, what do you guys think makes a good leader to you?
Is it all right if I add something to this?
Yes, of course.
So I little behind the scenes work before all. I asked a lot of current and former HOSA students what their tips for aspiring or future officers, and there's one piece of leader advice that absolutely sticks out to me. As a leader, I think it's important you know your place naman, and more crucially, like people are not going to respect you automatically just because you're a leader. So I think taking that into consideration, you should really consider your actions, and if you practice what you preach, basically, if you have good morals, then I think that's important. Like knowing your place too as well. Like as a leader, you're not supposed to do everything, but like make sure everyone's doing as they're supposed to and helping out if necessary.
So this says in breakout rooms. Do we still want to do breakout rooms? We can have a large discussion.
Let's just do a group discussion.
Okay. Yeah. So again, first question, kind of related, if not the same as the one that was posed before, but what makes a good leader to you guys?
This goes back to our idea about what type of shark you are. So, how do you think that being a hammerhead shark, what does it mean? Why does it make you a good leader? Like, why are great white sharks so important in leadership? Go ahead, Kat.
Okay. I mean, addressing more the first question generally, I mentioned I was like a hybrid of a hammerhead and a nursing shark. And I feel like what makes that type a good leader is personally for me, I try to understand where my teammates are coming from and implementing a solution that works for pretty much all of the team, not just for me or for like a small group of people.
Okay, let's read it. A good leader is visionary, ethical, and emotionally intelligent. Snaps to that. They make informed decisions, adapt to change, and communicate effectively. Curious. They instill confidence and accountability while empowering and supporting their team. These qualities help foster trust, collaboration, and growth, ultimately driving both individual and organizational success. I think this definitely touches upon what Jazz was saying. And what I got from that TLDR was, respect is definitely not given, it's always earned. So having these qualities is definitely fits and is necessary in order to have like your general body trust you as a leader. So Jan here says a good leader is someone that accepts ideas and responses from others. Definitely, again, goes to the idea of respect being earned. So even if you're in a leadership position, you can't really expect everyone, to come, and spread your ideas, and you need to earn this respect by being very emotionally aware and learning more about and accepting ideas from others in general. So moving on to the second question, how can you be a good leader in your HOSA chapter at school? And again, these questions kind of relate to each other, but can you think of some instances where you can showcase good leadership?
I think something I can talk on a little bit while we're getting responses is like the importance of delegation in leadership, because just as much as like as a leader you should be doing work to make whatever organization or team you're in, as much as you should be doing work to make all of that better, it's also like you should also be able to trust the other people that you're working with to be able to do the same. Um, Knowing like what believe to other people versus things that you can do yourself, because it's hard to do everything on your own, but also there's admittedly still like some things that like only you can do with like your certain skill set. So just like finding that balance of like your own work versus what you can leave for other people. And so there's also that little like collaborative piece of the nursing sharks that shows in that. And then I think a little bit of like the hammerhead.
I think then we can just move on to the next question of what does servant leadership mean to you?
I think that last bit of his answer kind of goes well with this question, with like encouraging other members and recognizing what they're doing. And like it's important to like validate the work of others so that they know that like what they're doing means something. And hopefully that encourages them to keep working hard.
And I see Matthew's answer in the chat, and I think that could also answer the third question. He says a good leader in a HOSA chapter or school demonstrates effective communication, leads by example, shows empathy and support, remains adaptable, manages time and tasks efficiently, encourage and recognize others' achievements, set clear goals, and create a shared vision for success, which I think really encapsulates servant leadership. Like doing these tasks not only just to lead people but to serve your community. That's the whole point of being a servant leader, is you put other people first, your the goals and dreams of like your community over your personal, like selfish, I guess personal goals and whatever. So I think that's super cool. And then Franz also said um servant leadership focuses more on building a relationship and creating a collaborative environment for everyone to feel comfortable and be able to share ideas. That's the goal. That's the goal, is to make everyone feel comfortable enough to share their ideas. So hopefully,
I see Lorenzo had a answer too. And he said, For me, servant leadership means putting others first, definitely, and empowering them to grow and leading them with humility and compassion. Again, goes with everything that was said before. Great answer, tying it all together. And then I think we can move on to the last question. So, what kind of examples of servant leadership have you seen at your school? Or what examples can you think of off the top of your head? Hypotheticals.
I think an example of servant leadership is actually hosting drives to address situations where you don't have access or you know people who don't have access to clothes or food. So I think one example is hosting a canned food drive. And when you collect all of those canned goods, you gift it to homeless shelters or you give it to people who do need the food.
Yeah, so like for example, sa college ko, after the fire, there were fires in Cavite and also yung mga floods sa Bicol, they we the nursing and the psychology departments led food drives and GCash donations. Tapos the officers for nursing all sent the food drives naman with the psychology students to be given out to those who had lost their homes in like the Cavite fires or the Bicol floods. Yeah, so that's an example of servant leadership I've seen in my school.
Awesome. And Franz and Matthew also added stuff in the chat. Franz said, whenever we have group projects, leaders are often assigned. And as an experienced leader of some projects, I personally like to use servant leadership for everyone to be able to share ideas, and we can create a project where everyone's ideas are collaborate together. Awesome. That's definitely a great example. It doesn't have to be, in a formal organization. It can be even in as small as a group project, but servant leadership can definitely be shown there. And then Matthew says, a teacher stays after class to help students understand this lesson. Definitely another example of servant leadership. Because the teacher is, sacrificing their time. They could have just left right after school or taken their lunch break and things like that, but instead they wanted the better for their students and help them out. So that's definitely a great example for that. And if no one has anything else to add, I think that would be a good wrap up to our discussion here. Philippines HOSA, welcome to the closing session of this year's Manila Leadership Academy. Let's begin with welcoming back our Philippines HOSA student hosts.
Welcome back, Philippines HOSA. What a day it has been. Daming amazing workshops. Honestly, it's so hard to pick a favorite. Were you inspired by the panelists? Did you learn from the workshops? We hope you enjoyed your time here at MLA.
Okay, ang Manila Leadership Academy ay designed para magbigay sa ating mga members ng exciting, engaging, at interactive na workshops to kick off the year. We would like to thank the workshop presenters as well as our amazing guest panelists for taking time out of their day to speak at our event. Yep.
On behalf of the students of PH HOSA, gusto rin namin maglaan ng sandali para pasalamatan ang mga tao na walang sawang nagtrabaho nitong mga nakaraang buwan para maging successful ang MLA. Today would have been possible without their industry resources, professionalism, and pure passion for HOSA. Special thanks to our advisors and the founders of making this a reality.
Sa pamamagitan ng event na ito, we hope na natutunan ninyo ang mga skills para makapag-host ng sarili ninyong local HOSA meetings sa inyong school campuses. Don't forget to take pictures sa first meeting ninyo.
HOSA would not be possible without the support and passion of students and advisors. Take the time to reach out to local businesses at sa Philippines Department of Education para mag-request ng additional financial support.
Now, bago natin tapusin ang conference ngayong araw, we have a few announcements for everyone. Attention all members, please check your inbox later for the matches of the first cohort ng Kapamilya Initiative. If you still want to participate, please fill out this form. Ang Kapamilya Initiative is a pen pal project ng HOSA FHP Alumni and Professional Association Hawaii. Excited na ba kayong makilala ang inyong mga bagong kaibigan from across the sea?
Also, please note the following important information regarding the Manila Leadership Conference. Magkakaroon tayo ng advisors and students meeting para pag-usapan ng pinakamahusay na date sa February. Please i-check ang inyong emails at messenger kapag na-send na ang information.
Nasaan ang mga talented members? Philippine HOSA is looking for you to perform at this year's MLC. If interesado, consider submitting an audition to perform the national anthem or the patriotic song. Ang submission ay due on February 28 sa aming Instagram page.
Philippines HOSA. Interesado ka ba magkaroon ng leadership experience? Apply na to be part of the 2025 to 2026 Philippines HOSA Leadership Team. Information will be released agad after the ceremony. Ang interest form ay due on February 28. Students, maraming salamat for staying. Bilang pasasalamat sa inyong effort, please accept this certificate of completion.
Maraming salamat sa lahat na nag-spend on Sunday morning kasama namin. We had an amazing time today and we hope you did as well. Don't forget to follow us at Philippines HOSA on Instagram and Facebook. Have a safe HOSA year and we look forward to seeing all of you sa Manila Leadership Conference. I now call the Manila Leadership Academy adjourned.